Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining in today's session. We'll just wait a couple of minutes for other participants to join in, and then we'll take ahead the discussion for today. Just a couple of minutes we require from your end. Thank you. I think we should start. So, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining in today's session. Myself, Jagrati Makkar. I am part of NASSCOM SME team. Very warm welcome to the 4th edition of NASSCOM SME Pivot Series Talk. It is our utmost pleasure to host each one of you today, where we provide an exclusive opportunity to interact and learn from the true practitioners of the tech SME ecosystem. The Pivot Series program is designed to help SME members kickstart newer high-impact initiatives in their organizations and to adopt change faster. In this program, SME Council brings on board the practitioners and subject matter experts from the industry in various domains who in turn share the expertise on a given topic. So today's session is based on AI. As we know that AI is everywhere, and it's time for the organizations across industries and business verticals to explore the benefits of AI. In today's session, we are going to discuss how SME companies can kickstart AI practice, develop requisite capabilities, and recognize ways and means to take it to their clients with a substantial value proposition. So today we have two great gentlemen with us. First, we have Mr. Kumar Rajagopalan. Welcome, sir. He is the Vice President and Head of India Operations for DICES. In his role, Kumar provides strategic direction in building offshore centers for DICES. Since its opening in 2012, in India, in the Indian office is the main delivery unit of DICES and operates in 5 major cities across the country, including Chennai, Noida, Pune, Bangalore, and Hyderabad. He is also a qualified chartered accountant and has more than 20 years of experience in IT consulting, project and program management, pre-sales, and large project transitions. He is also an esteemed and a very active member of NASSCOM SME Council representing the Chennai region. Welcome, Kumar, sir.
Thank you. Thanks.
Next we have is Laxminarayanan. He is the Chief Strategy Officer of VegaHR and Global Delivery Head of Polyster Solutions. He is an experienced management consultant with extensive experience in providing AI and analytics consulting to many Fortune 500 companies over the last 15 years. He has also played leadership roles in various firms, including Deloitte and PwC. He is a management graduate from IIM Lucknow with a postgraduate diploma in AI and machine learning from IIT Bangalore. He is also a visiting faculty at IIM Kolkata, IIM Lucknow, and IIM Amritsar, engaged in teaching modern day tools and techniques for students. He is an avid speaker at different industry forums and a regular guide to several MSMEs. We welcome you, sir. I would like Kumar sir to take the discussion ahead, and we can start with the discussion and the moderation. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, Jagrati. Thanks for the introduction. It's a great introduction. And in fact, it's a pleasure to meet Mr. Lakshmi. Been interacting over phone and speaking to him on different occasions. It's a pleasure to meet him on this forum. In fact, I would say an intelligent human talking about the artificial intelligence. It's kind of a totally different level, but it's my pleasure to kind of take it forward. And especially not less than anybody, Mr. Lakshmi can speak about it, because somebody who speaks not just within the organization, but also to all the institutions like IIMs and IITs. So it's kind of a great opportunity for everyone to learn. And I'm also keen to learn more techniques from him from here. Welcome, Mr. Lakshmi.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. It's always my pleasure to interact with you. So looking forward to an engaging session, sir. Yes.
Thank you. So we will have this session in terms of, it's a 1 hour and 15 minutes. we'll probably divide into first about 45 minutes of getting insight from Mr. Lakshmi, and remaining 30 minutes, it's like kind of a Q&A. You guys, anybody who wants to have any questions can probably put it in the chat window. We'll moderate that questions and put it forward to Lakshmi. But as always, you can always reach Lakshmi at any point of time, even outside this session, and get his insight. So it's such a nice person to kind of work with, and also to get the insight. So with that, like, I will probably start the today's session. Lakshmi, I would probably take this one into 5 different areas. Okay, so that way it becomes easier to kind of get a journey from where we start to where we end. It's always good to start with, like, where, how, what kind of a questions for AI. Then from where to kind of how to build the organization, especially the project organization under AI, into the prerequisites, what the organization should have in terms of building it, and what value propositions which we are going to have it. And obviously, many would be looking at it like kind of how much cost which we would be getting into, and what is the ROI. So we'll probably take this journey from that perspective. Just looking at your perspectives, is that fine to kind of take it that way?
Perfect, sir. Yes, that should work. Thank you.
Okay, great. So looking at the when, how, and where, it's always fascinating to look at it. There are 2 types of practice building. One, internal focus to the organization. Sometimes, like, even the organization would like to have their AI practices to cater to the internal customers. Many of the, in fact, SaaS companies look for that kind of engagement. And the external, we provide a service, or we even productize a service, things like that. So in this, probably the first question to ask is, like, when to start, how to start, and where to start. That's a primary question everybody will have in mind.
Sure. So I'll start with the external focused one. Like, if you're going to cater to the clients, especially when we are trying to go to the market and cater to different clients in the space of artificial intelligence, the best way to start is to engage with the client, or primarily on the data space, understanding what kind of problems they have with data, understanding what kind of problems they would like to solve with the help of analytics, bringing the power of analytics, and then slowly moving on to the AI space. Because one important aspect, which I'm sure all the industry experienced people would always vouch for, is we cannot separate AI and analytics to a greater extent. That's the reason AI is natural fit for many of the analytics companies, and AI becomes a natural progression with respect to analytics. So the first step, I would always say that let's get to the external market with the offerings related to analytics, and then slowly from there, how can we progress it and make it across as an AI offering beyond that, bringing in machine learning, bringing in computer vision, and all those other aspects step by step. In fact, when we talk about machine learning, that's a usual low-hanging fruit for many companies to go and pitch for when they talk to the client. So the first offering that we always talk about is, what do you have as the past data? Do you have data as an infrastructure? Then can I use that infrastructure to create an asset out of it using all the machine learning techniques? So maybe that would be the first step. That's the kind of external pitch I would say that we should have when we are talking about starting a kind of an AI practice in an organization, and what kind of offerings that we can take to the market. Of course, when to start? Yes, the first step is, do you have the right team in place, or that one senior person who can anchor the conversations in your organization, who can take it across? And the moment you have that confidence that, yes, this person is speaking the right language to the clients, talking about their problems in their language, and he has that ability to envision a solution for a particular problem, maybe that would be a good beginning for all of us. So that's the first step, I would say. And this is where the starting point for many organizations when it comes to building their AI practice. A problem on the client side, a person who can solve it on your side, a senior person who can at least understand what the problem is and how we can look at it. From there, the moment you are able to bring this match, I think it is easier for you to build the talent around this person, and then slowly build a practice around this person, a center of excellence around this person over a period of time, and then cater to one client, that one client becomes one success story, that one success story becomes the word of mouth in the market, slowly becoming referenceable client to other clients, and then build the practice. That's how I would say it, Kumar sir, with respect to this aspect on how, when, where, and how we can start this whole thing. Internally, of course, yes, I would always say that internally, there should be a problem, first of all, the business problem, which one we can tap. And I always say this, like marketing usually has a lot of problems. Sales forecasting, revenue forecasting, demand, inventory management. So any organization for that matter, they always try to look at marketing as the first step, place where they can identify the use cases for AI and machine learning. So maybe that's a good place to begin with. If you have a problem that can be solved, maybe that's a good opportunity for you to set up a practice internally, again with that one senior person to look into that, and get some contractors or get some junior profile team members, and try to build a team around it to solve that problem. Internally, setting up the practice would also begin in the same way with a problem.
Fantastic. And you said that one person, that you've been stressing the need for a person. That person should be within the organization we have to identify, or it can be somebody like a great strategy officer like you to be part of that journey.
See, this is always a tricky one. In fact, I'm heading the data science at this point of time in my organization, where we are also looking for, since I head the global delivery, I do not have the right person to head the data science in my organization too. Even I am also looking at how to hire this person in the right way. So now, again, this is a question which we all face in the market. Should I groom somebody from internal aspects, or should I hire somebody from the market? And one thing, what we are seeing as a challenge from the market is the person who has the perspective of building the team, plus the person who has the perspective of statistically solving the problem. I mean, this is a tricky combination. I don't know how many of people have tried this out in the market. A person who is really good in statistics is not really good in great management or developing the skills or developing the competency as such within an organization. And I would say that there are three qualities this person should have, or three areas across which this person should demonstrate expertise. The first one is understanding the business aspects of this problem. Many times people do not have that perspective. They're too much inclined towards the technology or towards the statistical part when it comes to AI/ML. Lacking that business perspective is usually the first skill I would always expect, which is lacking generally in the market. The second one is the strong statistical knowledge. Again, this person should be able to say that, okay, this problem, this kind of data I would need, and I would need this kind of statistical algorithm to implement. I know this may look like a kind of a small project explanation, but many a times this is what is doing the magic for the client. A person who gives this perspective that, oh, is this a problem for you? Then this is how you need to look at it, and this is how you need to bring the power of statistics, and this is how you can bring these programming languages like Python to solve the problem. And this person should be able to understand the broader, wider perspective of bringing all these three dimensions to solve the problem. And this combination of three skills, what I'm talking about, business perspective, statistics, and technology, getting that combination is a challenge. If you're able to find it internally, great. Then nothing like it, because somebody from your culture, if you're able to groom him for this particular role, who understands your organizational culture, the way of working, definitely it makes a lot of sense. If you're not able to find it, then we have to depend on the market. And the market is always pricey when it comes to data science or AI as a term. That's a challenge in the market.
Understood. It's a fantastic thing. I think even in the management philosophy, we always say, identify the problem or the opportunity. So you put it very nicely, like kind of identifying either the problem or opportunity is very important for this person to kind of be onboarded first, even before we start.
True.
Fantastic, sir. So from there, like if I wanted to kind of build the team, so there's always like kind of how to build the team, right? So there is an aspect of training, there is an aspect of organizational composition which is required, and also what's expected control structure which is required, because always I believe the AI or somebody who is with all these qualifications, they would like to run their own way. So sometimes there is a mismatch to the organizational objectives also. So what do you think, like kind of the internal teams should look like generally for building the team?
So, we always talk about the pyramid, right? The moment we talk about building a team as such, the pyramid should ideally have one senior person, the anchor person who is going to be playing the key role this person will slowly become the head of the competency. And if the person is pure play technical person, then he will become the center of excellence. There is a person who is going to build skills within the organization to deliver solutions to the client or to deliver solutions to the business. So the anchor people will be one person who can visualize and program manage the complete aspects of the solution. The second person can be a COE kind of a person who is completely hands-on technical, who can handle any kind of a problem that comes to him, who can guide the team and make the team work on that. So that's going to be the second important skill that you need to have as part of this overall team structure. Again, this can be a middle layer for you, reporting to the head of the competency as such. And then, of course, 2 or 3 middle layers of people, one who is a good data engineer. So this is something I think which is always underrated in the world of AI. That's the reason when I began, I was speaking about the importance of analytics in this space. When we talk about analytics, there are 2-3 skills that are very much important to deliver any kind of an analytics solution. One is data engineering, a person who can bring data, who can manage data from different sources. The second one is data visualization, a person who can visualize insights for the clients in the form of jazzy reports and dashboards. The third one is the one where we talk about AI or machine learning engineer who can actually develop the models with the help of statistics. Now, all 3 sets of people are needed to build a solution for any client, or for to develop a competency, you need all 3 sets of people. Many a times the focus is more on the data scientist who can actually build models for you and not on the data engineers or data visualization. The tricky part, once you have experience in the market, the tricky part that we get to know over a period of time is any project or any implementation engagement with the client, if you notice, 80% is data engineering. The problem lies with the data. A person who knows how to handle the data, a person who knows how to handle the labeled data when we talk about machine learning is the one who can be successful in delivering a solution. The person who can build the machine learning models, I think, yeah, they are pricey. They are always catchy in the market, really tough to get them. But that is only 20% of the whole project. So when you're building an ideal team, ideally you should have good number of data engineers, good number of visualization experts, and good number of data scientists. So together, led by a person who understands the business, who can build the competency, with one strong technical person, COE, who can actually guide and anchor the team on delivering the large-scale engagements for the client. So that would be the ideal composition, Kumar sir, on this.
Okay, so at least like you say, I could see about like 8 to 9 people is minimum required to kind of run even a smallest of AI practice within the organization.
Yes, but how do you bring across that 8 to 9 people? That can always change depending on the size of the organization. So sometimes we start with contractors, freelancers who can support us in developing models. Sometimes we start with the external contractors to develop a fixed fee project for us, depending on the problem that we are handling, or we providing that staff or taking staff skills and then managing it internally. So there are different ways of doing it, but at the end of the day, at least 4 to 5 people is the team composition that you may need to look at, excluding the project manager and the BA I'm talking about for any engagement.
Okay. I know it's like kind of I'm deviating slightly from the
Please.
AI subject of it because we are talking about AI practice building and the organizational building. So of course, now it's becoming a major issue of retention of these people. So what do we do to kind of at least like make them interesting of their current job? So is there any specific care needs to be taken in terms of if the project is not there or project is there, whatever it is, but they need to be keep occupied and build the career path in terms of within the AI practice, even if it is 8, 9 people.
True. Maybe I'll start with the philosophy that we talk about in the AI world. AI is defined as this way. In one of the philosophies of defining AI is the moment you achieve it, the moment you do something in the name of AI, it is no longer AI. That's how some scientists define AI. Like for example, the expert systems which were built in 1980s, at that point of time, it was seen as AI, but today we consider it to be a normal traditional software. The same philosophy applies to the people who are implementing AI too. The moment you do something, the thrill of doing it, that dies. The person always looks for another next challenging engagement. Like I've done a model using machine learning, I've solved this problem, great. Now the next step is I need to keep on feeding him challenging engagements to keep that person engaged in building the models continuously. That's a real thing. But how many projects that you can win in the market to keep him engaged? there'll be a kind of a period where he may be slightly not overloaded or something. That's where the attrition is a problem in the market. So one tricky thing or one good thing that we are trying to do in our organization is take the help of these people and build assets within the organization. So in fact, asset building is a common thing that we have done. R&D is an important piece when it comes to AI and machine learning, because for a reason we call this technology as an emerging technology. It is not matured. AI is not matured. Even though there are practical applications in the corporate world, I would always say that AI is an evolving space. Machine learning may be slightly matured. Deep learning is yet to get matured. It's still a black box for a lot of people. Even scientists are trying to explain what is happening inside those models. Now, if you want to do anything successful in this AI/ML space, R&D is something which is important. Now, the best way to continuously do R&D is keep 20 to 25% of the workload of all these data scientists dedicated for R&D. On one side, it will improve their professional excellence. Individual competence will also continuously improve based on what is happening in the market. Plus, your organization is also building assets for the market, which you can go showcase to the client or showcase it to the business to see the heart of possibility, show them like what is possible with AI. So that's where these assets come into the picture. Yes, if you do all these things, yes, to an extent we can keep them engaged. Otherwise, idle mind is a devil's workshop. We all know that. So that's the best way to read it.
The machine learning, deep learning, but still learning humans is always a challenge.
It's always a challenging part. And I mean, I always say this when it comes to AI, HR attrition analytics is a very famous solution that is there in which can be built with the help of random forest algorithms using AI. But we always talk about one aspect, culture. Culture, can it be measured using AI? Not really. But culture is what is going to kill the AI practice as such. If you don't have the right culture of motivation, innovation within the organization, we are going to lose the AI people because they always look for challenging engagements. So that's where the answer lies.
Interesting subject you touched it, like the culture in an organization is like kind of a keep at least change the human mindset. True. But that leaves a question like, what should be the culture within the AI team? So AI practice.
Engaging.
Because the high performance is one thing which I've been hearing from many people in the industry, and you guys are amazingly talented in terms of building that high performance. But like, I would like to hear from you.
Performance is always there. But remember, when we are talking about AI professionals, it's unlike the other IT engineers generally. So on one aspect, they are coming from statistical background. They're coming from Python programming background. So the typical data scientist, if you look at it, they are a combination of statistics plus Python programmers generally. And this kind of combination, usually they are slightly nerdy in type, if you notice. If I can be honest there, because we are talking about all like-minded people coming here and discussing this topic, so we should be aware of the audience.
Nerdy in a right sense you are talking.
Nerdy in the right sense, of course, yes. So we need to keep them engaged. That's where I was talking about R&D, innovation, and all those aspects to keep them engaged. So the culture should be on one side, keep them engaged with challenging engagements on one side. The second aspect is keep them rewarded continuously. Make them feel that, yes, they have created something great, something that is working, something that is helping the clients to solve the problem, something that is predicting the future aspects for a particular solution. So all those aspects, if you're able to continuously feed it and make them feel successful, that's where the success lies in retention. That's where success lies in building a great culture within the organization also. Rewards, recognition definitely is one thing to retain. That's something I think we all have realized during the COVID times. Even though working from home, great resignation era we are in, even mainframes technology person who is working today in the market, he has an offer to take from the market. People always used to jump from testing and mainframes to the modern day technologies. Today, everyone has at least 2 or 3 offers in the market when they're putting down the papers. And definitely AI is a space where there is too much demand, supply is limited. So in order to keep them engaged, please bring all these factors of engagement, reward, recognition, and then keeping them busy with the challenging engagements, building assets. This is the only way to create a culture of engagement with them, and that helps actually.
Fantastic. And you touch the modern technology and then make them kind of go. In fact, indirectly, you put it like they have to be skilled, are future skilled. So I think the last 1 year, you would have visualized like this is how the practice is going. We have to make the future skill. So probably like instead of going back 1 year back, from now in next 12 months, what's the future skill which you are looking at from people?
Okay. Kumar sir, I'll put it this way. Again, maybe I'll just take a step back and classify the broad set of companies that are there in the market today. One is the product companies, the other one is the services company privately. I mean, again, in the space of IT, if you notice, the IT product companies are generally focused on advanced skills like computer vision, NLP, and developing applications or solutions based on these technologies, which are not very popular on the services side. If you notice on the services side, the very popular service offerings in the market are mostly related to machine learning. And in maybe at the max, it will be like from supervised, unsupervised machine learning kind of. That's where the applications are. And we are still dealing with the structured data to handle most of the problems in the corporate space, because that's where the service offerings are from many of the service companies. Product space deals with a lot of unstructured data, plus the kind of the other emerging areas which are still yet to get matured, like computer vision, NLP, and all those spaces. So depending on which kind of company you are dealing with, of course, the skills would change. But I would always say that we should always be one step ahead. What we learn today will become outdated tomorrow. That's how this particular space is, at least till it reaches a maturity stage, which will take at least another 4 to 5 years, I would say, with the kind of innovation that's happening now. Yes, maybe to begin with, machine learning is a critical skill as on today. Next 1 year, focus on computer vision, NLP, kind of areas if you're in the product space, learning the advanced algorithms that have come into that, advanced libraries that have been brought across from different open source communities. Those are the aspects that people have to pick it up. And by the time they pick it up, there'll be new skills anyways in the market. So it's a continuous learning process. No doubt.
You mean to say that the artificial intelligence will be replaced by AI intelligence. So
exactly, boss. Absolutely right, sir. So that's the way the space is completely evolving.
Fantastic. For a 6 to, you said like 8 to 9 people, we can build an organization, AI practice. So what type of clients they can service with that shoestrap budget, or probably like shoestring budget, or the smaller organization with the AI practice?
Perfect. So maybe I'll start with this. Today, a lot of organizations talk about implementing artificial intelligence, but many a times they are not ready for the AI space as such. And there is a buzzword in the market that AI is something that every organization is under pressure to implement, considering the kind of value that they're able to derive from this. Here, if you notice, many a times people have Excel sheets of data, and they want us to develop a solution for them using the Excel sheets of data. The first step, maybe I would suggest, if you are ready to cater to the clients outside, the best thing I would do, which I am doing with my team also, is do small POCs for the client with the small limited data that they carry in their own environment, with their own data for the client. Can you show something that can be done with the help of AI machine learning? For that, you don't need a team of 8, 9 people also, because we're talking about Excel sheet data. So all you need is a good data scientist and a person, a good BA, who can talk about the advantages of machine learning and how it has solved the problem. So with just 2 people, you'll be able to start something with the client. And if you're able to showcase value with that, the next step is the automation of this whole machine learning project that you have done as a POC. Now, how can you scale it up and do it? That's where you need a larger team of data engineers, data scientists, and everyone coming into the picture to develop that end-to-end flow from the different source systems like ERP, CRM, and all those platforms, and pull and generate data and create models out of it. For that, you need a larger team, but by then you would have convinced the client that you are the right partner for them. You have shown value for them. The client is also ready to invest more. They understand that AI is just not one-stop implementation. It's going to be like multiple phases of journey where autonomous intelligence will be built across in the organization, and they'll be ready to take that first step with that POC. So if I am a service provider, I will start showcasing value and make the client feel assured that yes, AI can work in their organization with a small POC, which can be investment or which can start at 5 to 10 lakhs of a small engagement, and then proceed to the next level of maybe around the average ticket size is usually 40 to 50 lakhs in this space. So depending on the kind of size of the problem that you're trying to tackle, but that can be one with this POC for sure.
Oh, okay. Fantastic. Good to know that. So of course, like you touched the culture. I'm coming back to that again. you said that like you have one uh, experienced person in this world to kind of take through the entire solution, and the culture within the organization, you touched it like the high performance team and things like that. But beyond that, is there any prerequisite in an organization that like to put an AI, there is a mindset which is required, like what kind of a mindset which is required? Because generally the question being asked, like I put a money, but like would it come, or is it just like for somebody to make fun in their own world? So
and I can definitely relate to this question. A lot of client scenarios are coming to my mind. Having worked in the consulting space, having dealt with a lot of clients, I've seen very conservative clients. I've seen very aggressive clients who want to do everything with technology. So if you want to get into this AI space, the first step that you need is, first of all, are you a conservative company? Okay, conservative company in the sense like I have seen companies where email printouts are taken and then given to the CXO for the person to review the emails. That's the extreme of not adopting automation or technology, but there are companies like that. If that is the kind of a company, then obviously AI may not make sense for the kind of team that you need to build across. Definitely wherever the automation is already done, wherever the culture is like, I'm ready to learn continuously, because there are organizations which fail to develop the AI practice when they are not able to encourage the culture of learning, innovation, and a flat hierarchical culture. I know larger organizations like, I mean, I know some of my friends who are building practices in larger organizations where even though the hierarchical structure is pretty much on a great scale in that organization, which are around 2 lakhs to 3 lakh employees, this particular AI team alone, if you notice, it's completely flat hierarchy. To promote innovation, to keep on trying, experiment, and do things, there are a lot of steps that have been taken. So the first step is the mindset to innovate, the mindset to fail. I mean, we always talk about agile methodology, right? AI implementation is a truly agile technology, I would say. You try, experiment, you fail, and then you succeed. Failure is something that you should not be worried about when it comes to AI. Of course, it's not a kind of a ERP implementation where the cost of failure is pretty high. Not the case. Luckily, with respect to AI, it's all about the data. The accuracy of the models that you are going to develop are going to improve over a period of time. And everyone knows that. The client also understands that. If not, you have to educate them at the very beginning to make them understand what success is with respect to the project. But that mindset of experimenting, failing, and then learning from it, if you have that mindset, I think that's the right cultural mindset for you to begin the AI practice.
Fantastic, fantastic. So, but that also gives the another. In fact, it has been put in the Q&A. It's the right time to pick it up. So, what kind of readiness or the culture that should be there in the client side to get into the AI? Because we will provide the solution or services, but like they should be ready to accept the solution or services which we provide. So, what type of readiness they should have?
Okay, I'll put it this way. Every client is under pressure, as I was just telling some time back. Like every client, I mean, this is a famous joke, right? Everyone wants to adopt it. No one knows who is adopting it. Everyone thinks that the other person is doing it, and they are thinking they are not the one. They are the only one not doing it. So everyone is talking about AI from that point of view. They believe that all the competitors in the market are doing it, but they are the ones not doing it. The first step here is to make them understand what AI is all about. I'll tell you, to judge the readiness of the client, the first step is to have a conversation with them to understand what they know about AI. Because we are dealing with a technology which is going to predict the solutions or predict the answers, insights. It's not going to give you something which is concrete answers, which all the other technologies promise. I mean, this is something which may look like a small factor, but at the end of the solution, if the client says that, okay, this is something I know, and your solution is just predicting it, the whole solution that you have developed for a crore or something is going for a toss, because they may not be ready to adopt, considering that it is just a prediction solution. We need to educate them on what is AI, what is machine learning, and where it will make a difference. See, this is where the first set, we should never jump to a problem, or we should never jump to a solution mode with any client. The first step is to engage them and make them understand, or make them realize, go through requirement gathering workshops or anything, initially like a typical consulting approach, make them understand what would be the right use case for AI in their organization. In that conversation of 1 or 2 days workshops itself, most probably you'll get a feel whether they are ready for AI. If they're not able to understand everything that you're talking about, what is happening in the industry, and if their questions are coming from a different tangent altogether, then they are not ready for it. And it's sometimes better to walk out, because dealing with a wrong client is going to be a painful experience for you, and you're going to break the relationship with somebody, because at the end of the day, we are in the business of becoming trusted advisors to the clients. Any problem, they're inviting us to solve their problems. And if you don't give that confidence to them at the beginning, saying that this is the problem, this is the kind of solution you're going to get, and if they're not in a position to understand that solution, it's going to be a challenge. Better to walk out of that relationship at the very beginning than doing it and then making it a miserable journey for both the service provider as well as the client for a long time.
Fantastic. The scoping is important. So the better message is to the client, you are not outsourcing the decision making to me. You're only trying to get me enable your decision making. So
exactly. That factor of human judgment is something that is always there on top of the insights that you receive from AI solutions. The importance of that human factor, the clients should appreciate. If they don't appreciate, that's where the challenge comes in.
That's right. They're fantastic. So for an organization, again, coming back to they're setting up the AI practice, the teams are there. In fact, a good number of people are there and motivated, retained everybody, and the company is in a great side to kind of build it. So what can they expect in 6 months, 1 year, or 2 years? Like, what can they expect? Are they kind of keep expecting something, or like a concrete some kind of an IP or something like that can be evolved over a period of time?
Yes, you are right in pointing out that IP creation or asset creation is something that's going to help you to build a successful practice, because at the end of the day, we are dealing with a technology where I was just mentioning that we have to educate the clients on what they want and how it can be presented to them. To make them understand that creating these assets and IPs are going to help us out. In fact, considering the cost of implementation of AI many a times, and the kind of data that exists with the client many a times, you need huge volume of data to build an AI solution, which the clients generally do not have, unless you're dealing with a large enterprise. Now, to make them get the value of AI, these IP assets that you're developing may help you with the kind of transfer learning process that we generally talk about in the AI world. It's going to help the clients to get some value out of the data, limited data that they carry. So I would say that if you are building an AI practice, try to see what you can develop as assets in 6 months, 1 year, and slowly up to 2 years. But those assets should be like step-by-step feature building. You cannot build, Rome is not built in a day. We always say that. Same way, AI models, you cannot get everything in one solution. Slowly, step-by-step, have a roadmap, build features around it, and try to create one use case for every function for the client, finance, marketing, HR, which you can go and showcase to the client and make them understand the value of AI in that particular domain. So that's the way to build your competency in 6 months, 12 months, or 2 years.
Fantastic. So you spoke about it like in the beginning. Artificial intelligence is not a silo; it has to be built along with cloud and analytics. So every organization, it's kind of a wholesome kind of a solution. Build it as together. So which means that like, is there a from the traditional COE building, like we normally build a cloud COE, analytics COE separately, from a AI COE, which is like kind of, is there any difference in approach?
See, one thing, if you notice, AI COE is generally not created separately. With many companies that I worked for so far, as a consultant, when I go and help them setting up the COE, we generally talk about analytics and automation together as a COE, because there are a lot of synergies that we are talking about when we talk about AI, analytics, automation, as well as automation means I talk about RPA kind of technologies, plus the cloud. All these technologies have a lot of synergy in a way, and the intelligence can be built across on top of automation. Because one thing we need to realize that automation is the base for this whole data-driven decision making or data-driven insight building. For the simple reason, automation is the one which is going to give you more data points within an organization. So when we are setting up the COE in the modern day world, instead of creating silo COEs for different technology, it's better to have one COE, which is going to be an umbrella COE for all these technologies. Cloud, definitely, yes, that's something that we cannot ignore, because cloud is the enabler for this whole AI journey. We cannot ignore the fact that even if you want to process one algorithm, you need cloud. You need to create a data lake, and then on top of the data that is there sitting on the data lake, you need to build the models. Now, how are you going to do that? Without a cloud expert in the COE, you cannot think of a solution. So cloud plus a data management expert plus an AI expert, all these experts should be part of one COE to make this whole solution look realistic to the client. To talk, I mean, even the cloud infra expert, like many times the one aspect that we should not ignore from the services point of view is when we develop solutions on AI, we ignore or we do not consider this as a serious factor. That is the cloud cost, the infra cost that is associated with building a solution. And you need a right infra admin to manage the cost on cloud, which usually the clients also ignore. And suddenly the whole cost of implementation of AI goes for a toss there. So all these people should be part of the COE to give a holistic solution to the client. But of course, yeah, you need not begin with this complete COE. So you need to start with the typical AI team, as we were discussing earlier, how to build that competency, and then slowly get all these pieces connected together. And that's when you become a holistic enterprise to deliver anything for the client.
Fantastic. In fact, somebody told me in a simplistic way, dosa is not eaten full. It's like kind of you start with the corner and then sweep all the way through.
Absolutely right. Yes.
So great. So if I kind of dive into the SME segment, because like kind of that's where most of our interest lies. In fact, for me, I'm part of the SME Council, so a lot of NASSCOM SME related work which we do. That includes the SIGs and go-to-market strategies, and also how to kind of enable the SMEs to compete in the market. If I come into the SME segment of it, how do you think that the service company or SME service company adopt the AI practice and take it to the market? So is there any quick guide for them, a small guide instead of making it too large?
No, I'll keep it as a typical IT model that we put across, which will very well work in this AI context also. That is, start with a typical staff augmentation. If you want to take any solution to the client, start with a staff augmentation. Maybe that's a good model to build your capability step by step. Because low risk, you're just going to provide skills to the client. Staff augmentation is the best way to build your capability over a period of time. And the client is going to take care of the complete risk and delivery ownership. So that's the first step towards building your competency. The second one is manage T&M. From staff up, you're slowly building a small team and lending the whole team to the client. Still, the client wants the complete delivery process. Still, the risk is low, but you are able to build something on your own as a team, and you're able to deliver something for the client. The third one is the fixed fee engagements, as we always do. That's where the ownership risk, everything comes to us, where you can use accelerators assets to deliver something faster. And this is where you can create IPs, which will differentiate you from others. Now, this is the sequence which I would recommend for AI also. A typical IT services model, how do we grow the organization? I would recommend the same for AI too. With respect to AI, in fact, I would always go for once you get to the fixed fee model, you can also think about AI as a service model. That's the next level of maturity, where you create models. You don't sell the whole model to the client. You rent it out as a service. Like for example, attrition model, you have built it for one of the clients. The client has paid, the whole model is working well. Like for example, I built it for one of the clients with around 93% accuracy. The model was predicting which employee will leave next. Now that model, if some client has to develop it, it was costing around 1.5 crores. Why spend 1.5 crores when I can give attrition model as a service to the client? So we started providing that attrition service as a service, the model as a service. Now all we need is 2 lakhs per quarter. You give me the data of your company, we will run it in the stuff, and we'll give you the results for your organization. So as a service provider, I'm able to provide AI as a service at a cheaper cost. And 2 lakhs for running that model, it's important for them because they want to retain the critical people, and I'm able to predict to a greater extent. So these are some innovative offerings which we can bring it as we build our own IPs and other aspects. So sequence, as always, like an IT one, start with staff aug to this kind of a model where you're able to play around and do more.
Fantastic. But the obvious question comes in case of a staff org and T&M. Nowadays, the work from home culture is building up. So retaining the knowledge within the organization to build a practice. So is there any secret sauce into it?
Kumar sir, I think when I last discussed with you, when you told me that you were always going to office during the COVID times, I was thinking like, okay, how can I bring my team to the office? Today, as an organization, sometimes we are scared. Like, okay, if we ask our team to come back to office, are they going to stay back in the organization or are they going to resign? And I don't know. I mean, I'm sure all of you are active in LinkedIn. In LinkedIn, when you say it, everyone is watching for the work from home benefits. Everyone says that I'm leaving this job because my company has asked me to come to office, kind of. That's a mindset that has been built over a period of time. But I belong to slightly old school of thought, despite being in the AI world. I personally believe that teams have to work together to collaborate and innovate together. Yes, work from home will have an impact. Hybrid model is the best case approach. That's something I think every organization is trying to adopt. Like 2 days a week, please come to office. Let's 3 days work from anywhere, but we'll collaborate and do more. That works very well in this AI competency also, for sure.
Fantastic, because like people are working from the cloud, so which means that like they are invisible. So make them visible inside the organization.
True, very true.
Okay. So in fact, rest of the participants, like you can post your questions, because as we keep talking, I don't want to miss the time out. Your questions also. Please post the question so that I can include it while I'm kind of as the insight from Lakshmi. So taking it to the generally from, I know you have a technology hat and you also is a management consultant, which means the business side. You said very clearly that like a person who runs this should have all the sides 360-degree covered. So what should be the go-to-market strategy for an SME, or how to build the brand image under the AI practice so that like they can reach the market well?
Okay, so one is becoming a thought leader in the market. Coming from the consulting, that's I have realized the value of it very clearly. That is, if you want to develop your competency or develop a kind of a practice around AI, the first step is how can you present AI as a game changer or as a potential problem-solving technology to the market. So first step is, can you create thought publications? Can you create some kind of a small set of reports which you can publish to your existing clientele, the clientele for other service offerings that you may have, make them understand what AI is all about and educate them. Today, the problem is AI is not understood well by the market as such. If you notice, there are a lot of myths around AI. So they are looking for somebody who can provide the clarity of what AI can do to them, or what kind of problems AI can solve for them, or what is happening in the industry which they are not doing. So bring those perspectives. The first step is to take it to the market, build a brand, build a kind of awareness about technology. See, there are two things. When we talk about GTM, we talk about market development and business development. Two aspects that we always talk about. AI is still in the market development phase. I wouldn't say we have reached the business development phase. So we have to develop the market towards AI, make them understand what is AI, what AI can do, what kind of use cases are there in the market. All these aspects have to be put across and educate the people on the right definitions of AI, the right implementations of AI. Once that market development is done, then comes our business development, our GTM strategy, like how can we create an aura around our company with respect to AI? Are we able to publish good enough articles? Are we able to showcase good enough assets in the market? Are we able to talk about AI in different forums and build that credibility that we are the right people to deliver solutions in the market? So I would say that these are the elements that we need to look at to enable ourselves as a strong player in the AI space in the market. That's a step. These are the steps I would say.
Fantastic, sir. So part of it is like, I think I also take it slightly from a SMB to the SaaS companies, because Southern India is becoming an hub in the SaaS companies, and there's so many startups which are happening right now. Should they adopt AI as part of the overall solution, even at the initial stage, or should they bring their products and come up to a certain point and then bring the AI at a later point of time? What's your opinion on that?
Sure. Kumar sir, one thing you might have noticed in the last 2 years with the kind of IPOs that are coming in, every startup that is coming out, generally they talk about having an AI feature. I don't know, you might have seen it in the Shark Tank also. The companies coming and pitching, they always say that, okay, we are intelligent driven company or smart company kind of, where they always try to bring across that element of artificial intelligence to showcase that their product is more intelligent than other products in the market. So AI has become a kind of a necessity to attract the attention of the VCs and the funding companies also in this space. So that has become one of the requirements. But how well you're able to use AI in your space? So just because AI is a buzzword, are you using it, or are you really solving some problems with the help of some features that you have built using AI machine learning models? So that's something important. I would always say that start having AI as part of your composition. The moment you're building a technology offering in the market, it's always good to bring some kind of element of AI, be it a chat bot or be it some kind of a model that you can say that, and this is something which is enabled by AI kind of, because people get curious the moment they hear AI. Maybe this curiosity will be there for the next few months or few years max. That's all. Let's make use of the curiosity when people are talking about it. So I would always say that, I mean, the best way to create buzz around the market is people talking about it, right? Let's piggyback on the AI trend that people have. Why not?
Fantastic. That leaves one question from Manish. Actually, it's relevant right now to put it there. Of course, the clients are really worried about the data security, especially the small and medium-sized companies, SME companies will not have that much of a process-driven to kind of hold the data security. Large companies will have CMMIs and things like that, so at least they are prepared, well prepared.
True.
In your experience, have you noticed any customer, especially government? Definitely, if you are doing a government project, definitely they're going to look for
True.
it. So, what kind of data security preparedness we need to take it, and what's your insight into it?
Sure. I'll talk about, I mean, maybe this is the right time to talk about two things. One, the models that you develop on your own, in your own premises environment to solve your problems or solve problems for the client, data security is mostly taken care of because you are doing everything in your own controlled environment. So data security is not a problem in that context. But if you're going to use APIs from the cloud, let's say, for example, you don't have enough data points, but you want to solve a problem which is pretty much common. Let's say, for example, I want to build a chatbot for my company, but I do not want to train that bot using NLP, natural language processing. And I do not have enough data points to train it. I do not have enough people to build that chatbot. Maybe the easiest route is to use cloud one, like for example, GCP Dialogflow. I'll just use it and build a bot. Within 2 hours, I have a bot ready for my service. But the problem is the data that we are exchanging with the cloud. So in a public data cloud environment. So the concerns arise when we start using APIs that are available for AI services. So that's where the real problem comes in. So what we need to look at is, depending on what kind of data that we are handling, considering GDPR concerns also, because GDPR is also playing a significant role in what kind of data that can be used for analysis about our employees and customers and everything. So maybe we need to look at all those perspectives and look at the larger picture and then take a call. So data security is definitely a point to be concerned about. In fact, I would say that to answer to Manish, if he's implementing AI, you would be very well aware. The biggest problem is data availability than data security. That's a bigger challenge in the AI world today.
Clean data and data availability.
Absolutely right. Yes.
Understood. So moving to the next one, the cost side, right? From the SME or internal organization to build it, I know it's like kind of it's subjective, right? Like, but at least an indication like how we go into that one. The cost related to the teams, cost related to the tools, which is important. So I'll tell you, it's like my experience is the rest of the folks are ready to work. AA team, typically they say is that like we are very creative teams. We need a very silent room. We need a Bose speaker with a mild music on and things like that. So what kind of an investments which we are looking at it? So they just to kind of at least make sure that like we are rightly provided tools to them, and also the team is there available for them.
Yes, I can get your point where you're coming from, considering the millennials who are working in this space for sure. Maybe I'll put it this way. More than the sound box, we may need a lot of sandboxes internally to manage the environment, because we are going to deal with huge volumes of data when it comes to AI models. And a good environment with a right RAM servers which can process the data, which can make it easier for the employees to create and innovate and play around without waiting much time. Because many a times when you start working on the AI models, the problem is the time that it takes to execute every code on the data. So the data storage and data processing, if you're able to create a nice environment to manage that, I think that would be the basic hygiene factor for any AI team to work around. And the next step is the challenging problems, as we were discussing earlier. If you're able to bring that, then I think, again, there is a cost associated with it. No doubt about it. On one side, we are talking about the sandbox and other things, which is going to be a recurring cost on a monthly basis for managing the team, the infra for the team, and importantly, the high-end laptops. I know my teams, when they come back and complain like, Lakshmi, you are asking us to work on advanced machine learning models, running this one, that one, all these things. But at the end of the day, you're giving me a basic laptop, whereas even clicking an email in Outlook takes me around 30 seconds to leave my inbox. Is this the laptop that you're going to give me to execute machine learning models? I mean, that doesn't work that way, right? So we need to ensure that the right infra is also provided with respect to laptop, hardware, software, everything for them to play around. So there is a cost associated with it. Of course, they are like high maintenance teams, no doubt about it. But yes, it's an initial investment that we need to bring across. With high investment comes high returns. That I can guarantee, because that's where the data
I can
science
tell
is.
you, when 386 was introduced way back, that was the time I started. I was wow with that. Now, if I really look at it, like the amount of tools which are going in, but it's a kind of a creative work. I would say that like it's much needed to kind of invest.
True. Very true, Kumar sir. In fact, see, that's where the creativity comes in identifying the right problems to solve. If you have that one person who can identify the right problems to solve with the help of the team, that's going to make a big difference for your data science competency. They are the ones who are going to groom the team to the next level, getting the best clients for you.
Fantastic. And what's the suggestion on? I know it's like kind of a very vague question since we talked about tools. Raju has also asked this question. The tools expertise. So which are at least the softwares the AI team at least like to start with to understand, learn, so that the team can advance themselves in the future?
One good thing about the AI world is most of the things are available in open source. I would always say that if you're just picking up AI as a skill, start with Python, the easiest one, which you can pick it up within a week as a programming language. Of course, you need to develop your expertise over a period of time with more machine learning concepts, understanding how it works and how it can be implemented, and also decoding the statistical part of it and see what kind of algorithms can work in which context. So that is something you need to pick it up. So Python as a language is good enough for you to begin with to implement any kind of a machine learning problem. And of course, as you progress, as you develop your skill sets using Python and then implementing machine learning there, you may pick up more other aspects of deep learning and other aspects which can again be implemented through the same models. That should not be a challenge. So if I have to give you one simple answer, Kumar sir, it will be Python. So start with Python. Yes, with Python, you can grow, you can become an AI expert for a period of time.
Fantastic. Okay. So Python, statistics, and some business, and generally as a team player.
Yes.
Okay, great. But there was one question from Puneet, like I will just insert in here because it's kind of relevant. It is also plays a major role in terms of the cost, what we are looking at it. So AI as a service, if I wanted to build it within an organization and showcase it to the customers. So should it cost more, or building a COE practice and then, as you said, the TNM model, take it further and things like that? So which is a better option to kind of choose, given that there is no cost pressure?
See, to be practical, I would say that if you have a good, solid one anchor person, as I was telling you at the beginning, one person who understands business, statistics, and Python for implementation. That one person who can anchor it, even if you have 2 or 3 freshers working with them, you'll be able to create an asset which can help you to solve problems for the clients. Now, this asset, you can give it as a service. Now, how are you going to improve the accuracy of this particular service over a period of time? By getting more clients. More the clients, better the accuracy of the model. And that evolves. And the cost for the initial team, that only that anchor person is going to be a high cost resource for you. But the rest freshers are going to come at a very, very low cost. So building that small team will not be challenging initially. And in fact, if you notice that anchor person, if he is coming from analytics background, I have seen excellent people who are comfortable with multiple technologies. Like we have hired one person who is good in all the technologies like data engineering and as well as the data science. He knows how to handle the data from multiple sources as well as build the models. Very rarely available, but if you get one person, please hire them. Don't ignore them. If you are not ready to hire, please pass the resume to me. I will hire them. That's how the market is today. So get that team built in.
That's a question for all the participants.
Very true. So I think we should form a group whereby any profiles that we are getting in, we should exchange it. There should be a small mailing list for it.
Yeah, you're. I think. Sorry, I cut you. So any AI you were kind of expanding.
Sorry,
AI model. You are
yes.
talking about a model.
The moment you build this model, Kumar sir, the next thing is it can be offered as a service. So the cost of the building this model initially is going to be high, but over a period of time, you are going to put it across and try to ensure that that is available as a service for the market.
Okay. I'm skipping this question from Mind because Mind asked you is like kind of whether you can join them. So they have a model, they already have one. So, but anyways, like kind of taking further in this one, there is a model which you are talking about, the attrition management. Sabesan asked a question about that, like when you have an attrition management kind of a model which you have built for the AI for your customer, is there a off the shelf or is there any standard solution which is available in the market so that he can pick it up, because this is one problem which they wanted to solve in their organization. Don't expect them to hire you here, but like kind of a solution which is looking.
But one thing, sir, which I would like to reiterate here, AI cannot be a one size fits all solution generally, especially with respect to attrition kind of a problem. The reason I'm telling you this is, let's say, for example, image recognition, if I'm taking that as a problem, maybe there I can bring the learning from different aspects and still use that learning for solving one problem in the product space. But with respect to attrition, the bigger problem is every industry is different. The reason for attrition in manufacturing will be different from reason for attrition in IT. The reason for attrition, even in IT versus services, IT versus services in hospitality is going to be different. Now, how are you going to get those factors or features built in your model? So when we try to get that one size fits all, it's going to be a challenge. When I spoke about attrition as a service, attrition model as a service, it's for each industry, you need to personalize it, customize it, and then provide it as a service.
Fantastic.
And that's where you are learning or you're accumulating the learning from different companies and offering it. That's where your real value comes in. Again, somebody who can build the model from the scratch on his own.
That's why you were talking about the business analyst plays a key role
Exactly.
in kind of understanding the.
True. Because again, at the end of the day, it's a technology where it follows a simple GIGO principle, right? Garbage in, garbage out. So what we are feeding in is what is going to help us to get the right output.
But historical data is generally a question. If you're building model for a particular industry, the historical data, however clean it is, but at least some data should be there. Do we have a matured market available to kind of get the data, especially for Indian context?
I don't know whether you have heard of this thing. In big data, we call this concept as veracity of the data. So that is the data which we cannot trust. It's still a problem. The data that is available in the market, you get it. It's like, on lighter note, the first month Bajaj Finance calls you if you want a loan. Then 11 months later also, there'll be another company calling you. They do not realize that 11 months back itself, somebody have given me a loan. That data is still traveling in the market as market data to different people as lead. correct?
Especially the real estate company.
Yes, exactly. So that is the same problem here also. What is the data that I'm trying to use? Is it outdated or is it something relevant for my problem? So that's where the standard market data that is available may not be a fit always. But yes, it depends on the problem. I'll go back to the standard management answer. It depends. It depends on a lot of contextual variables that we need to consider. But yes, if you're able to get the data, we can use it. Transfer learning is something that can be very much applicable in these contexts. And this is a common problem in the AI world, that we do not have data for vernacular languages or images for different ethnicities, which has, I mean, I think which was recently addressed in Google I/O conference also. Like, these are some of the challenges that exist in the AI space today, the diversity of the data.
And there was a talk about this, the large companies and the SMEs. Can SMEs compete with the large companies? I asked this question to one of the experts. He said, like, at the end of the day, you are not burning an ocean. So both companies can fish.
Absolutely.
So
In fact, I'll tell you one thing, sir. You're absolutely right. The best part of smaller companies is we are agile, truly agile.
Okay.
The way we work, compared to a bigger organization where, I mean, I know the famous, you would have read the book of the IBM CEO, Elephants, Can They Dance? They have grown to such a size that they have become elephants in the market. It's really tough for them to dance. While we are small ants, we can play around. That's the beauty. And with respect to technologies like AI, that's what is needed. How quickly we're able to adopt, how quickly we're able to assess and form a team around that. So we have a better advantage when it comes to that quick agility in addressing the client's problems. So I would see that as an advantage here.
Fantastic. And to kind of, I know it's like I've been talking only about the industry side, like I've not touched you at the personal side, like you've been teaching a lot of IIMs and triple IT. So the industry college connect is one of the major thing in the SME council, which we kind of put it, and we also have plans to kind of engage it. But if I take it to the AI world, where you are teaching, so what's that the students expect from the industry, or are they adopt to the what is the need of the industry right now?
Apart from the FT packages that they're looking from the industry, so okay, I'll put it this way. In fact, a couple of days back, last Friday, I was in one of the B schools in Chennai, part of the board to bring in this analytics and AI as part of their curriculum. In fact, talking about it, one big challenge that they're facing is how well they can integrate themselves to the industry or meet the expectations of the industry by doing some internships, live projects, because they're all learning a lot of theory stuff on paper. In fact, I'll be honest with you, today the problem with the academic world is many a times they are given more perspective on the statistical and the traditional technical part of AI, where we are grooming them in a different direction. Now, the biggest challenge is we need to make them understand what problems that they have to solve and what is happening in the industry. To get that perspective, I think the industry should offer more projects, internships. In fact, I would say that if you're an SME, please bring across some I mean, you can get students free of cost, right? I mean, they don't charge you for any projects that you offer them. They can develop good models for you. Give them a 2 months, 3 months project, and give them a problem statement and a data set from your organization. They can develop wonderful models for you, which if you are able to get a good accuracy, you can convert it as a service model to the market. So that's the only need that I see in the academic world at this point of time, connecting the dots between theory and the practice.
Okay. Now that leaves one question from Ananthakrishnan. Said, like, there are existing models, and suppose if we needed to support that one, is that like, how should we prepare ourselves? Because we have not developed anything, and it's been somebody else developed the AI and also the models. We are just supporting. So what preparedness we should have to support it?
The first step is understanding what they have written as code. I still remember I started my career with supporting Java projects, where when I was going through the code in TCS, there used to be comments like, I don't know what I have written. That's a comment in the code. So I don't know how this works. So such kind of comments, we used to get it across in the code.
I've seen that.
Yes. So the first step is to understand what has been done. And in fact, the biggest challenge with the maintenance of the model is suddenly you will reach a saturation level of accuracy. It may stop at 79, 80%. And you may think that, okay, the more the data points, I think we can increase the accuracy of the model while maintaining the model. So sometimes you need to be aware of the problem and the features that you have considered to see whether you need to revamp the model completely from the scratch instead of just fine tuning the parameters again and again. So that's a call that you will get only from the experience of understanding the problem as well as the solution. Because many a times while maintaining the model, we do not look at the bigger problem, what exactly we tried solving at the initial stages. Maybe that perspective is something the maintenance team should get into, get that picture while fixing the enhancements or while doing smaller enhancements or anything that with the model. So this perspective, they're able to have it, they'll be able to revamp it at the right time to improve the accuracy in a better way.
Fantastic, sir. So I think we are coming to the end of it. So the questions also exhausted. So I will leave you 5 minutes, just like kind of if you have an open, what should be the future look like for AI professionals, especially is like somebody who wants to join, and what they should get prepared, and what's their organizational expectation which would come out in future.
So okay, if I have to summarize it, I'll put it this way: like we are in an exciting phase of life where AI has come into our lives already. If you have noticed, I can confidently tell you that if you're sitting at home, there are more number of AI agents with you than the number of family members, than the number of humans in your house at this point of time. So AI has already penetrated. And I always say this: any career point that you want to make, you always need to choose an industry which is in the initial stages of growth. So that's where you can grow with the industry from the career point of view. And I would strongly say that AI is one space where it is in the initial stages and it looks very, very promising, the kind of transition that it can bring across here. So I would say that AI is exciting. AI is going to transform the human lives. Are you ready? Are you preparing yourself to move into that space so that you also feel excited about the whole journey and at least feel relevant? In fact, I was speaking to one of the CEOs last week as part of the training program on AI. He was talking about the same, like, Lakshmi, today I was able to talk to my son, even though I am a CEO of a manufacturing, I never understood AI, but I'm able to talk to my son on this technology, and somewhere I'm able to establish that connect. So he was happy that he was able to talk about the concurrent technology with the people. So that's this technology is going to be ruling this world for the next at least 15, 20 years. How internet has ruled over the last 20, 25 years, and which has become part of our lives now. Same way AI is going to play a role. So AI is exciting. Just build the right skills. If you're at the right place at the right time in the next few months with all the AI skills, I'm sure your careers are going to be too secured and you're going to be at the peak. You are going to be the first movers in this space. So that will be good for you.
So which means that like that's only the IT, BTech IT guys can get into the AI, or any other, say for instance, chartered accountants, or somebody with a BCom, or somebody with agricultural specialist, medical, anyone can get into the AI practice.
Anyone can get into the AI practice. In fact, Kumar sir, you'll be surprised. The people who have completed MSc Agriculture, I have found them to be great data scientists, because somewhere they picked it up and they were working with me in the consulting companies that I work for as data scientists. And they are, because of the statistical knowledge that they picked up in the initial stages. So statisticians are usually ruling the space, no doubt about it. But slowly it is moving to the programming side again. So engineers need not be the only criteria. In fact, when I'm teaching in one of the colleges in Lavasa, where I'm teaching for the BBA students, they are they are calling themselves as the AI specialist, and I found them to be available at a cheaper cost for me. 4 lakhs, 5 lakhs, I'm able to get people who know Python already. So I would say that they form the next level of workforce for us.
That gives an interesting perspective, because SMEs can build it. So that's what you mean to say.
True.
Because they can get it from the source from anywhere.
Exactly.
Excellent. Thanks a lot. We are almost like close to getting this session completed. But if you allow me, like I would have gone for another 1 more hour. It's such an interesting thing. Thanks a lot, Lakshmi, patiently answering all the questions and giving a lot of insight into it. It's a great learning for me.
It's my pleasure, Kumar sir. Thank you very much for being a wonderful host and asking all the relevant questions. I enjoyed this conversation. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you. Over to you, Jagrati.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Kumar sir. Thank you, Lakshmi, again for gracing your presence here at this pivot talk that we had. It was great. It was insightful. Helped I think many members of us to answer basic questions and other questions that you had in mind. I would like to thank the members who have joined us today. If anybody have different queries or more queries, please mail us. I didn't realize I was on mute. I'm so sorry. Thank you everyone for joining in. Thank you, Kumar sir, and thank you, Lakshmi, for gracing gracing us with your presence today. It was an insightful session. I would like to, I have mailed an ID on the chat box where if anyone has any questions regarding the topic that we discussed today, pleasure to take your queries. Mail at ssmishra@nascom.in. We'll get back to you with your queries. Thank you, everyone. Thank
Will
you.
this recording go to them, Jagriti?
We can share it will be there on the YouTube, and we can share it to the different the participants who have come today if requested. So that's not a problem. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Thanks
Thank you.
Take care.
Take care.